Welcome to this week's call, the Winds of Spirit book discussion. I'm Brigid Hopkins, and this week we are discussing Chapter 13, Wind Baths. As usual, when we begin our call, I like to bring the group together, near and far. So if everyone that is able to close their eyes, please do so. And if you're unable to, just allow your attention to soften a little bit. Take in a nice deep breath. Bring your attention closer to your body and your breathing. And really begin to feel the place that you are seated. And allow your body the chance to completely surrender. And allow the space that you're in to hold you. Letting your shoulders drop. Wiggling your jaw, inviting those muscles to relax. Checking in with your abdomen and noticing if it's tense or soft. And if you're able to have both feet firmly on the ground. Taking in a nice deep breath and releasing the tension from the day on the exhale. And doing that one more time, just calling back all of you and releasing anything not of you on the exhale. And one more time, breathing in all of you and releasing anything not of you on the exhale. And using the power of your imagination, let us all meet in the field and begin to make our way in a single file line underneath the stone archway, circling from the right to the left. Taking a moment to acknowledge all of our presence in this sacred space. Noticing the beautiful fire in the center of our circle. Really being present to your intentions today. What are you offering to the circle? And if you're interested, what are you wanting to receive? Noticing the fire for another moment. Giving thanks for that beautiful alchemy that takes place with the wood and friction and the winds and the precision of all of it. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and be fully present on the call. So welcome everyone to this week's discussion, which will be a fun experiential call, given that we're all in different places and we're indoors. But I think that we're pretty good at using our visualization techniques. So we can do a wind bath while being inside. And one time I posted on the Wind Clan wall that I've actually done it with a hairdryer. So, don't let being indoors ever stop you from getting a wind bath. So one of the things that I want to open up the call with, because I just love the opening in the chapter. On page 107 of chapter 13, a wind bath is a great exercise for restoring internal harmony and balance. Simply stated, wind washing is using nature's supreme cleanser, the movement of air, to strip away all excess energy from your body's energetic field. And then I'm going to skip down a little bit. Wind baths can relieve tension and stress by sweeping away your troubles. And I just love that because it seems, once again, I can't state enough how the simplicity of all of this relational work with the winds, and yet what big rewards. And so I'd love to open up the call to those who are present today and just see, have you experienced a wind bath while doing your reading? Did you take the time to go outside and have that direct experience? Don't everybody go at once.
I'll start. I read through the chapter today. I did not do the wind bath outside today, but I've done something very similar in the last few days because we've had a variety of winds coming through, very strong, some very gentle, a lot of rain, which is good for our drought. So I've done it before, just wanting to stand in the wind. Over the years, I can remember as a child and in my 20s and 30s and 40s, I mean, just wherever I was at, I just loved being in the wind. So now I practice with it behind me, but I like in here about how we do it with it to our backs and then turn around. So I am looking forward to trying this out. It was pretty rainy today, so I didn't choose to go out, but anyway.
Yeah.
I love the feeling of it, or especially when it's swirling. I mean, that's a whole other thing that I don't quite stand. I just stand in it and enjoy it.
It's like a loofah.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it as a bath before. So interesting, because I stand in the rain thinking that way. It's a shower.
Right. Yeah.
I like this idea of the wind, a wind bath.
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, and when it's been like just today, we're having the change of season here on the East Coast, and I've been indoors a little more than I usually like to be. And today it was like, that's it. I'm going to put on all of the warm clothes that I have at the same time because I need a wind bath. Like I could energetically feel it, all the stagnation that was building on me. And boy, did they sure run to greet me. It was lovely. Like I really needed it. So that's one of the fun things about the relationship. You start to learn what nourishes you and what your needs are in the relationship, and then go and have that met, get your needs met. Would anyone else like to share if they've had a wind bath?
I will. Yes, I'm in the dark, so sorry, but okay. I'll be in the house in a half hour. Yeah, here in New England, it has been really, really cold and windy, and there are times when it's invigorating and times when it's cold and harsh, and I'm looking forward to just not letting that stop me and being like in my climate and bundling up and doing what I need to do. And then in January, I'm going to Florida for a short time. So then to get into the warm winds, it's going to be good, I think, to just be able to get into that warm wind in the in a couple of months. But yeah, the wind baths are, I like what you said, like experiential, and I've used them at times when I needed to release, and you really do feel like there is a shift, because it is interacting with the wind and it's responsive. So yeah, it's a good practice.
Yeah, it's like a walking meditation. It can be. Thank you, Carrie. Would anyone else like to chime in about wind bathing?
Oh, I'll pipe in.
Hi, Renee.
I love wind baths. They're one of my favorite things. I like whenever I go outside, I always try to take a little wind wash, and they seem to be, they soothe my soul. And it's like, I think it makes me know that then I come present in the moment when I can do that. Today I'm really tired. I have been literally traveling since August, and I finally finished my last talk yesterday, and I'm home. And so I'm looking forward to going out and having, I try to do a walk no matter where I am. And, I had a wind wash at Newport Beach the other night, and one, up on Whidbey every day actually while I was up there. And so it'll be nice to reconnect to my own yard and be home and be present. Although I'm really busy, but wind bathing is definitely something that keeps me here. And you can't see me because I'm sitting on my bed, and I decided I didn't need everyone to see me in my bedroom resting.
I'm so glad that you're resting.
No, I'm not resting. Trust me, I've been working from bed all day long, and I'm working on contests for the Shift Network class, the scripts, and I'm very excited. I've been working on all the new worksheets and all of those things. So, it's kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we lost Paula. I hope I didn't scare her off.
No, sometimes she pops on and off with her internet connection. We're okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, and so I mean, I'm like, when I say I'm resting, it means I'm literally resting here, but I'm, working with my assistant who's working on newsletters and all of the IM stuff. So what I mean is, now that I'm home, I can concentrate on the wind work for, the next 2 months. That's what I really mean, that I'm resting.
Yeah.
Is that funny?
Well,
the wind is my resting state.
I was just going to say, the wind doesn't really let you rest, does it? Yeah.
Well, Sandra and I have had long talks about this. Like, just because you're, you have to know when to tell these wind elements, Taba, enough, because the thing is that they will always, just because you're a spiritual vessel, and it's, she likes to tell the story about whatever that guide is that she really likes, I forget, but about how when the guide came to her and said, "Oh, I want you to write this book," and she said, "Oh no, I can't," the wind would say the same thing. "Okay, well, I'll go find somebody else who will." And so, a spiritual, like, people, like, "Oh, we'll just pile more on me." And one of the good things that I realized today is in this expansion and this wind breathing, because most of you haven't heard the new meditation. A couple of you have heard it, that not only is the wind informing, but a lot of these wind bath processes have been deepened, and they go way deeper now than when they were first written in the book. Like, it took me 3 or 4 years to understand those cardinal directions. Like, for years I wrote about it, tried to take them out of the book, put them back in the book, wrote about them. And then all of a sudden, about a week ago, the wind told me, "Well, I don't know what your problem is. You know how the direction's blowing by when the wind's blowing in your face." I was like, "Oh, okay." Because the editor, how do you know, are you going into the wind and no, it's whatever the wind is blowing in your face. So even the wind bath processes, we've taken so much deeper. Who was it, Deborah, who was talking about it, where there's an unwinding and a rewinding. And then, in the Windwork Basics, we discovered that there's a gap You know, so where Winds of Spirit is in its process, it's an ever expanding wind, and I keep learning. And you know, I'm like, I got a whole new other download insight last night, you know, as I'm working on the worksheets for the class, that are just like things that I've been saying, like giving lip service to, that are now starting, oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's what that means. And so, you know, it's just a wonderful journey, and I'm excited that you guys are going through the book, because it makes me know how much we've learned since then as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's really interesting, Renee, because today, this has happened like 2 or 3 times recently, where the winds are bringing me information to my like beyond my 5 senses. So it's so subtle that it's hard for me to really vocalize, like put words to it yet. But I'll be walking, and what will happen is the wind will grab my attention to alert me of something that is in my periphery, or just a little beyond where I can see. And so it's been with deer, and the bucks are, you know, getting in ready for their rutting season. And so the last couple times I've been walking in this one trail, I feel the wind bring it. Maybe it's bringing their scent, I'm not sure, but it really calls my attention, like, hey, look over there, the bucks are there. And then I'll look, and it'll take me a few minutes to see with my eyes, but I already knew because the wind got my attention, which is just, it's really cool. And only wind people will get it, because if I say it to anyone else, they're like, what are you talking about?
That's very funny.
Yeah, they're getting my attention. And
sorry.
I was just going to say about the unwinding. So today, you know, all of the ground was covered with snow, and the winds greeted me right when I like cross over a threshold where I stop and I become present, and I set my intention before I go in. And they immediately, like, woo, tons of wind came to say hello. And I immediately heard walk a spiral to unwind, and then walk it back to wind back up. And so it was cool to be able to see the actual spiral, because all the snow, you know, kept my tracks. And, you know, so it reminded me of that winding and unwinding. And I was thinking of you while I was doing it this morning. It felt really good. I needed that.
That's nice. She was thinking about me. This idea of putting into words, and I'm going to be teaching a lot more about that in the Wind Alchemy course, is that the intention, what I was shown last night was that the intention, the word doesn't need to be formed. That it's that out breath, that intention of that out breath, that we have to be so careful about, because it's the energetic. You could say all you want all day is like, I'm happy, joyous, and free. But if the energetic of that out breath doesn't believe it, that's what you're putting into form. And so I'm sitting with these new concepts about, like, it's in the it's in the om, it's in the formation of this this breath that creates all a form, you know, because I mean, you guys have done, some of you have done the Wind Mastery, where we talked about the dynamics of creation. Well, I'm getting a deeper understanding on those dynamics of creation. So setting that breath intention is more important than what comes out your mouth. Isn't that interesting?
I love it. Yeah, that feels really good and solid to me. Yeah. And it goes back to what we've been talking about this whole book study, where you've outlined the practices and given their invitations. They're things to try and experiment with to start building a relationship, right? Like if you went into a foreign country, you would first need to understand a little bit of the language and then some of the culture, and you would keep building so that you could finally feel at home. And that's what I think of your book. That's the way I think of your book, is that you're giving all of these practical applications so that we can build these relationships, but they're unique to each of us. And so your relationship with the wind keeps growing, and you're getting deeper insights, and almost like being alleviated of the perfection of the skill, if you will. You know, like you don't have to do it all step by step by step by step every single time perfectly, because once the relationship begins to establish, it'll morph and change and be a little bit more to your learning style or the way that you engage.
And I think that that's true. And I think that it's what I love most about these wind teachings is when I started out to write this book. Oh, we have more participants here now. How great.
Mm-hmm. Jim came in.
So when I started to write this book, you know, I was very selfish. I wanted a system that my teachers hadn't taught me because this one teacher said, "Oh, you're tagging along on my coattails." I thought I was promoting him, but he thought that I was. And I think it was like that would needed to be the separation between me promoting him and going off on my own. So, and I saw so much conflict in the shamanic community over the years where, "Oh, you're teaching my work. You're teaching my work." So I was very specific to say, "Hey, I don't want anyone else's work. I don't want to be the guru, because I believe that the guru's dead, and I need a system that's going to teach people how to fish. You know, that sometimes it's to the detriment, though, because some people learn to fish so quickly and then they go off and they don't stay along for another wind mastery ride." We need more teachers next year. So I'm inviting you all, if you're interested, to, you know, come along for a year, and so we can get more people out there sharing these wind practices, because I don't want people to run off half-baked sharing them. I want them to have a solid understanding, and I don't know what that means at all. But so, you know, so if you know, when you're starting to do something, like I needed the wind wash. That's why we created the wind wash. And, you know, I'm finding more and more practices as I go that were throughout history. Who knew how people missed this? It's just amazing to me that people didn't, that it took 10,000 years for people to understand that the wind is the energy of creation, and we can have a cooperating relationship with it to, you know, to sail our life in our lives better. That's all. I throw us all off course when I come on here, and yet Brigid likes me to come.
I know. I love when you come. I told you I've missed you. I've missed hearing your voice and just having your presence.
I would show you my video, but I even put on a new shirt for this today.
Well, and you know, I think the one thing that I notice, and still, like when I step into local community here, they're like, "Why do you love the wind?" And I said, that's always such a great question, because maybe I love the underdog. You know, maybe I love the one thing that most people overlook more often than not, you know, and I was guilty of it too. I wasn't paying any attention to the wind. I actually had a grudge with the wind. I didn't even like it. It took away my first $1 of my allowance when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I didn't want anything to do with the wind.
And you'll, sorry, would you?
No, go ahead.
You'll laugh when you hear my interview, or not. It's not really an interview with Stephen Dinan, when he says, "Well, tell me some experiences about your wind believing clan." And so I'm there like, well, there's one person who hated, I said, you know, hated the wind and was down in the Dominican. I tell your story about how, you know, you were looking for a teacher, and the wind kept annoying you because you hated it so much, until you finally understood, oh, there's my next teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know if he got it, but I did.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah. I mean, I'll never forget it. And, you know, but that's what it took to wake me up, because I'm such a visual person that I really needed something to just be in my face nonstop until I'd be like, what do you want? I can't even see you, but like everything on my person hurts because of all the sand that was pelting me nonstop for a weekend, you know, in this tropical vacation. It was like torture. But you know what? The last 2.5 years haven't been, Renee. They've been smooth sailing and like just beautiful experience after the next, because I finally said yes to the wind. And I think that that's the beauty of it. It's like when we finally wake up and engage with something that really wants to give us its attention and its nurture, like anything is possible.
True.
Mm-hmm.
True,
Yeah.
true.
So Jim, I see that you chimed in. The question that started the spark was, have you experienced a wind bath? So feel free to jump in.
Well, I haven't gone out specifically seeking one, but it's like, since it turned really cold here in New Jersey, I remember walking home the other night going, oh, as the wind blew cold against my body and I shivered to the bone.
I hear you. Yeah, we were in the teens for a couple days. Yeah. I was like, you're just blowing on me to remind me I need better winter gear. That's all. You're just reminding me. Yeah. That's
all. But no, I think I regularly do. That sounds right. Do wind bath. Come here, guys. Because we'll go out. I walk the dogs. We go hiking through the woods regularly, and I'll always stop where there's wind or something, and just kind of sit there and breathe it in, point in the direction of it, and then sometimes I'll point the other direction just to catch my breath. And it's something I enjoy. It's very centering. It's very calming and soothing.
That's lovely.
We're just sitting on a rock above a creek and just the same kind of thing, but just breathe in nature, the wind, the kind of everything.
That reminds me, as I'm listening to you, I was thinking about this bird that came to me this year. We all study shamanism in one way or another. And towards the end of the season, well, like later summer, I started noticing the cormorants down at the lake. And I was watching their behavior because they're different than ducks. Like the way that they get their food is different, and the way they sit on the water, like everything about them just stands out. And so I started noticing that the cormorant would come out of the water after each catch and stand and spread its wings and just keep fanning them, because they're not actually waterproof like the ducks. So they have to dry out in between catches. And they're wind bathers, is what I was thinking as I watched them. I'm like, how cool is that they learn that they need the wind to help them dry their wings. So the more wind, the better, because then they can keep eating, throughout the day. And it was just fun to watch them and notice that. And I wouldn't have paid attention if I weren't doing this practice of the wind bath and just being outside all the time to be with the winds. So that was kind of fun. I don't know if you guys are familiar with cormorants, but they're pretty cool. Very nice looking birds. So the couple things before we do a wind bath exercise, and let me just check in. Renee, did you have anything else that you wanted to share before we use the power of our imagination?
No, but I'm just wondering if anyone here has any questions about things, since I am here and I'm not here very often.
I want to say I'm like bursting over here. I'm like bursting with the idea of what you were talking about the intentional breath. And that's just so profound. And I know, when in one way or another, you know that you should be aligned with your intention and your, emotions, your whole, all your sensory being, energetic being aligned. But it was so profound. It just struck me so profound about what you said about the exhale and being energetically aligned, because like there's something going on in my life, and I know I'm exhaling I'm exhaling some frustration, and I need to be exhaling what I want to bring into form. We talk about speaking things into existence, but take it to the subtlest and more personal and more intentional level. It's the breath. If we are breathing our life force energy and we're not aligned with what it is that we want, be it on the simplest level, it just really struck me as a profound meditative practice.
Yeah, I found
So
it
thank you.
that way too, Carrie, last night when I'm thinking like, because here I'm exhausted, I'm walking around and I'm there like, and it's just like the wind said right out loud, what are you breathing? And I'm thinking like, wow, what am I breathing? And, I mean, these insights just, the way you just wrapped it up though, I had just had to write that down. You guys, I'm going to have to give you all credit in the next book, the chapter called The Intentional Breath. I mean, between you and Brigid's Windpiphanies, I'm like, the two of you, I'm so thrilled that you guys are going to be my assistants for the Shift Network class, because I just am grateful that I have both of your brilliances, and Jim and Deborah, I listen to your, the input you have, and it's really deep wisdom. I just really honor, and Paula too. I mean, I just really honor what you guys are doing here every week.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And I also want to comment on what you said about, coming up with something of your own. And that whole, I need to go back and listen to what you said, but I resonated with that. And yeah, it was powerful. What you were sharing was powerful. But thank you also.
Renee, and as I listen to Carrie speak that back about the exhale, one of the things that I've been noticing a lot lately, the breath that comes into me, we're sharing breath. So we're going to take this whole intentional exhale a little bit farther. It's all shared. And what I've been noticing is that sometimes I get these waves that come through me and I'm like, wow, I just inhaled something from somewhere, from someone or something that's so intense, and it goes through me, and then I have to like flush it again because I'm like, this is not my own, but I took it in. So do you have anything to say about that?
I do. Yesterday I was driving, and I've been so I'm working on the spaciousness issue in my own life about creating enough space around and stuff. And I was talking to somebody who I knew was sick, but I hadn't really had time to reach out yet because I didn't have time to do anything about it. So I didn't reach out. I mean, talk about avoidance. And when she was talking about, what she's been doing for healers and stuff, because I don't do a lot of one-on-one healing anymore, but I am going to go see her this weekend. I realized that some of what she got hit with in this crisis she's in wasn't her own. Her partner's a healer out there in the world, something like wished by and got her. So not only do we have to be careful of our own protective spaces, but, I have a friend who keeps my house clear too. So that if something missed me, and it's sitting in the corner of my dining room, that's being tended to too. So what you're talking about, breathing in that energy of other people, we're doing that all the time. And I mean, you could tell it's like when you go into a room where somebody's making you feel sick to your stomach, it's because you're breathing in that. And so as conscious, awake people, our job is to monitor our own out breaths and, take these wind baths so we can wash off what's not ours. Because the earth can mulch what's not ours. I don't know that we're designed to totally do that, but I think that when we get more in a harmony with the wind and the earth and the fire and the water, we could do that. After I did the interview with Stephen Dinan for the Shift Call, what happened was I had to make this fire that was so hot, that was so powerful, that burnt for a few hours before I put in this wand that I had created for these things. And anyone who's ever done a despacho ceremony knows that when you put it into there, the way that earth heats it up and eats it is will tell you the energy that it's mulching. Well, it took and mulched this stuff. So as we gain our intentionality around these things, I think we're so much more equipped to not breathe in that stuff that's not ours.
When I hear you speaking of that, what I'm thinking about is I think we are equipped to do it because of our breath, and physically our lungs are purifying our, and the fact that we can think about it and create a practice around it, it amplifies our ability, and it's evolving.
That's a true point. The fact that we're paying attention to it and we're doing it means we are capable of doing it. That's our brain power.
And we're capable of even coming up with practices. I have to shut my door so my dog stops barking. But yeah, I love that.
May I
feel
jump
like
in?
when I breathe in.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, may I jump in? Yes. I love this discussion because especially this question of what am I breathing? Renee, when you said that, and the rest of the discussion as well, but I have been having trouble with my breathing when I lay down, when I sleep, when it feels like there's like little doors that are shutting on my sinuses, and I can't breathe out of my nose at all. I mean, it's like totally blocked. So I'm not sleeping well. So I like that. What am I breathing? This has just been going on the last month or two, and I haven't quite figured it out. So I think the wind bath, I can see by taking it to the deepest level of wherever I'm at, and use that during the bath, and continue to maybe write on what am I breathing, because there's obviously something that I've brought into my life, or it's come into my life, that has blocked my nasal breathing. And I've used breathing techniques for a couple, 2-3 years, and it helped me to get rid of my sinus issues, because I do it every morning and every night and during the day. So it's not that I don't know about conscious breathing. I do use it, but I'm curious now, what the heck has come into, what am I breathing these days? So thank you. Also, one other comment. I absolutely love these short chapters that we can just read a short chapter and come and talk about it every week. It allows me to absorb the information, where some book clubs and things just go too fast, and I think we need to get into it. So thank you.
Great feedback. Thank you. And I'll just, I'll give you the opposite, because I was thinking of oracle cards and how sometimes we draw the reverse. So it's like a block or something we need to pay attention to. So what am I breathing, and what don't I want to breathe? Anyone else? Jump in.
Yes. So I think my favorite breaths are like on a cool fall morning. The air is crisp and clean. It's like I breathe it in. It just seems to refresh my entire body. It's very cleansing. In the summertime, like right before it rains, you get that burst of cool air that blows through and brings in the fresh rain smell. It's really invigorating, just like heightened senses and awarenesses. And then in the wintertime, when the first snow comes, It's like right before, right as that snow arrives, it's the same kind of sensation and feeling. It's just a beautiful deep breath in, a fresh, clean air. It's very cleansing. You know, I noticed then, back onto what are we breathing, I do a lot of breathing with emotional work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a couple clients I was talking to this week who were going through stuff, and it's just like all this energy was just passing through, just flowing through, just lots of deep breaths. So it's almost to me like breathing is part of the centering process. Taking those breaths is something that's just centering. I know we talked about anchoring back at the beginning, but that breath work, the pointing into the wind, that new smell of the rain or the winter snow, very anchoring, just very core work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel super present listening to you. Seriously, like I can feel, I know those sensations of each one of those seasons in that way. So thank you. Yeah, it was really nice to go through. Mm-hmm.
You know, this is stuff like I've felt my whole life, but you know, my thank you will go back to Renee for writing the book about it and just really pointing it out so that we're much more aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. One of a kind. Is there anything else that's come up since we're on chapter 13? We're getting ready to round the corner to the finish line. We have 3 more chapters to go, you guys. So is there anything that's been coming up as you're working through the book? You know, maybe you're trying to implement some of the practices. Is there anything that you would like to ask for some guidance or, you know, just share? Feel free to do that.
Just a thought, you had mentioned there's only a few chapters to go. Something I was wondering about is, are we going to spend a week on each of the winds in the back? Or have you thought about how you're gonna, what are your thoughts on when we get to the winds?
Deities. You know, the last time Renee and I spoke about it, and I'm glad she's here because we can just hash it out real quick. But
Yeah, I want to see what she has to say about this.
I'm like, woo, I'm on the hot seat. Glad I'm wearing purple. Yeah, the way that I was thinking of ending this is that those are experiential and they're more than a week's worth of attention. And there's like 20 of them back there. And since we're getting ready to start the Shift Network class, I thought, you know, we'll go to the last chapter, which is chapter 16, and then everyone can work with the deities on their own, bringing them in these different ways from doing the practices that we've learned about throughout the book. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that sounds good. I was just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Did you just say there's 20 winds in the back?
I think so. Isn't there?
I think 29.
Good thing I'm coming over here. There's 34 winds.
Oh, there you go.
There's 32 winds, and then there's the no wind. And in either case, for whatever we're going to do, we're going to have to take a break for the 7 weeks of the Shift Network class because they think that we could have 400 or 500 people in our class. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to be, you know, I need people to be holding space over there. And so what I'm going to be doing is you know, usurping the Thursday afternoon call for those 7 weeks in order to have Brigid over there. And I really, truly hope that everyone joins us I just can't even tell you that if you come and take the Shift Network class, that your 2020, when you're sitting here next year in November, it will look way different. And I mean that for myself as well. And because I do this with you. It's not like like I said, I'm not the guru. I'm not I'm just learning right along too. I just have a couple more years on you with this work.
Well, and I'm going to interrupt you because it was in the spring mastery class that you were working on this exact manifestation. And here it is. You were working on that. Maybe it was at the fall mastery. Yeah. One of them. but
Well,
to watch you bring it into fruition is just lovely.
Well, you know, and the thing is what I love most about this wind work is that you really don't have to do anything except for getting aligned like a sailboat, aligned with the wind that's blowing through your life to get you going in the right direction. Because there's just so much of it that I say, oh, it's like I was saying the other day when I was going to do that Narcan training, I had said I wanted everybody this year, and this is, you know, my directive was to be, I really wanted the community you to be about people getting back into their communities and seeing face to face with people. And I thought, well, God, I failed at that. You know, like I didn't do what I told ever, you know, like, well, you know, woe is me. I didn't get it done. And then I realized, wow, I've trained over 100 people this year so far to carry Narcan. That was face to face. Here's your Narcan kit. This is how you do it. You can save a life too. And so sometimes it doesn't even look like what we think it's going to look like. It probably never does. But so that directive came about to be too. It's kind of an interesting thing. And for everyone here who was in that group, I think we've all had that face-to-face, you know, community interaction more than, so that's all. I'll shut up now so you can do your wind bath. So I'm okay with taking on the winds probably after February and resuming the book study then. And that way it'll give all these other 100 people who signed up who don't show up every week to catch up on the videos.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And who knows, if we set the intention, I mean, we might have some really interesting work to do with each deity. That's possible. So I'm open to it. I'm exhaling that. Like, how would you like us to work with you? Bring that wisdom to us. So I'm open and receiving.
Went back through each chapter even and picked a deity or two to just draw at random to include that week.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're reviewing and we're incorporating.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to throw in before we do a wind bath?
Renee, you said you had put this class together to get us going. I mean, to me, it's been more effective on the inside. It's just been stirring a deeper level of trust and awareness around me in my life and just helping me to align within. So I'm sure the going will get coming, but it's worked on an inside for me more than it has outside right now.
That would be the wind.
That would be the wind. All right, everybody. So just take a minute. I'm taking off the video because I'm going to be moving around a little bit here. So take a minute to get nice and centered. And I also, if you're able to stand, we'll encourage that as well so that we can do our centering breaths. But I'd like for you to first just allow everything that we've spoken about to kind of settle in where it needs to, and whatever is going to float by, just let that happen. And what I first want you to do is to take yourself to the space in nature that most readily and easily comes to your attention. A place where you're very familiar, you've experienced the winds there. You feel open and receptive in that space. So let's first go to those spaces. And now the first part of a wind bath is to bring to mind something that is what you may identify as an issue, something that is either physical, emotional, mental, something that's, really present in your life right now. Anything that's disrupting your state of peace. And as you bring that to your attention, just notice your body. Notice if it travels in your body or if it becomes highlighted or emphasized in some way. And take a nice deep breath in. Go ahead and let that out. And now we're standing in that beautiful place in nature where we feel the sense of connection, familiarity. And I'd like you to start imagining the wind, that you're just feeling a gentle breeze going by. And the first thing you're going to do is notice what direction the breeze is coming in. And then turn your back to that direction. And I'd like you to take in a nice deep breath, feeling it inside of your body, noticing how far it travels and how wide you get, how much you're breathing it in and it expands you. And then blow it out. Taking in a nice deep inhale again and holding it for 5 to 10 seconds. And then on the exhale, count another 5 to 10 seconds. And doing that 2 more times, please. Take in a nice deep breath, hold it. And then slowly blow it out. And do that 1 more time. Let out a nice deep exhale. And now I'd like you to visualize that this place that you're standing with the wind at your back, feeling that nice centered, anchored space within and also below. So imagine that you're growing roots out the bottom of your feet and that these roots travel down through the layers till you begin to feel water and the underground river inside of the earth. And as you inhale, imagine that you can bring in some of these cleansing waters up into your body, removing any blockages, any stagnation. And as you do that, I'm going to begin calling in the winds of spirit with the prayer. Winds of spirit, enter the sacred space-time continuum that is my life. I call upon the rock people, the rivers, the streams, the mountains, the star people, Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun, and all the elementals. Come to this sacred ground. Be here with me now. I call upon the winds of change, the winds that are older than the caves, the first winds that moved all of creation, Eurus, Notus, Zephyrus, and Boreas. I invite you to come from each cardinal direction to watch over my landscape and me as I do this work. Come here now to help me clear any heaviness in my heart, body, and soul. I am in awe of the wind. And I invite each of you, if you're willing, to stand with your knees shoulder width apart and slightly bent, and extending your arms from your sides to the point that it's comfortable to leave them extended. And slowly begin turning in the direction where you first felt the wind coming towards you as I blow the wind whistle. Really inviting the issue that you brought with you to begin to slowly dissipate. Standing for another moment. And slowly turn yourself in a clockwise fashion until you come back to the center point where the wind was first greeting you. And checking in with your entire being to notice if you feel cleansed of the issue that you first came in with. Asking any energies that may not be yours or any energies that are not for the highest and greatest good to leave you now. Asking the energy of the four winds, Eurus, Zephyrus, Notus, and Boreas, to please take them with them. And now using your hands, imagine that you're creating a bubble around yourself, beginning at your crown, going all the way down to your feet. Again, if you are able, if you're not able, imagine this. Do it with your imagination. Thanking the four cardinal winds for joining us. And we'll begin to disband them as we end this practice by saying our closing prayer. Winds of spirit, breath of all life, please forgive me for anything I may have said or done to call this disruptive storm into my life. I flow gently with the winds of change. Eurus, Notus, Zephyrus, and Boreas, thank you. The wind blows where it will. I am in awe of the wind. And I invite each of you to ever so slowly begin to open your eyes. And if anyone would like to share before we close out our circle, if there's anything that you would like to share about that experience, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I would just like to say thank you to everyone for coming, and Brigid for all the work you put into this.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Well, let's just take a moment to be back in our sacred circle, really putting our attention there. The winds have been so generous and present today. And as we stand in our circle, again, looking at the fire, thanking the cardinal winds, I also wish to thank each of you for your attendance and your presence and contribution. Also for the mindfulness that you're exemplifying. We each are continuing to grow and deepen in our own practices and the way that we step into the world and our intentionality. And I thank you for that. Wishing each of you a very happy and fun weekend, hopefully with some rest involved. And slowly make your way back out of the stone archway. Aho. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Hey, Jim. All right, I'll show you me. Here I
There you
am.
Wait,
Oh.
you got to get on the big screen.
Oh, now I'm on the big screen. Here I am.
There
Oh, yeah.
you are. Thank you for
very
being with us.
relaxed. I told you I got dressed up for it and all. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye, Paula. Bye.
Bye.